want to tell you something I've never said out loud before. The morning my mother-in-law sat at my kitchen table with a lawyer and a document designed to take my house, I was calm. Not pretending to be calm, actually calm. The way you're calm when you've already seen something coming for 3 years and spent that time making sure it couldn't touch you. Gerald and Patricia Harmon drove 4 hours on a Tuesday morning. They brought a lawyer named Steven Briggs, gray suit, manila folder, very official looking. They sat at my table. Steven slid the papers across to me, and Patricia, my mother-in-law, looked at me for the first time with something other than that smile. She looked at me like she had already won. I picked up the papers, read them carefully, set them down, and said, "Before I sign anything, I'd like you to look at something first." What I showed them ended the conversation in 40 seconds. This is that story. My name is Nora Callahan, 36 years old, Clover Falls, Ohio, senior accountant, owner of a house on Birchwood Lane that I bought by myself at 27 years old, with money I saved for 4 years, while working full-time and eating a lot of peanut butter sandwiches. I tell you that because I need you to understand what this house meant, not as an asset, as a statement. My dad drove a school bus for 22 years. I remember sitting in the front seat on field trips, the seat they reserve for the teacher, and my dad would let me ride there instead. He thought I didn't know he arranged that. I always knew. My mom worked the front desk at the county health department. She wore the same 3 cardigans on rotation for 6 years. Not because she had to, because she was saving for something. She never told me what. When I was 25, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $8,000. "For your house," she said. "Mom, don't argue. Your father and I decided a long time ago. Own something, Nora. Something nobody can take." I put that $8,000 toward my down payment, and at 27, I bought the house on Birchwood Lane. My name on the deed. $187,000. 4 years of saving. 1 signature. Mine. I met Daniel Harmon at 29. He was good. Genuinely good. The kind of man who remembers what you said you were worried about 3 weeks ago and asks about it. His parents were a different situation. I want to be fair about Gerald and Patricia. They loved Daniel. That part was real. Everything else was complicated. Gerald had built a small construction company in Columbus. Patricia had never worked outside their home. She spoke about this the way people speak about a personal achievement. She asked about my job at every family dinner in the same specific tone. "Oh, you're still doing the accounting thing?" "Yes, Patricia, still doing the accounting thing." The first hint came 6 months after Daniel and I started dating. Sunday dinner. Patricia was pouring wine. She said, without looking up, "Daniel tells us you own your place." "I do." "Smart." She said it the way you say smart when you mean something else entirely. I let it go. The second hint came at Thanksgiving, year 1 of our marriage. Patricia and I were alone in the kitchen. She was cutting pie. She didn't look up. "You know, Nora, in our family, the house belongs to the family, not just one person." I set down what I was doing, slowly. "This is my house, Patricia. I bought it before Daniel and I met." She looked up and smiled, the specific smile of a woman who has already decided how a story ends and is simply waiting for everyone else to catch up. "Of course, dear." She handed me a slice of pie. I took it, walked back to the living room, sat next to Daniel. He looked at me. You okay? I'm going to call Thomas Waverly tomorrow morning. He didn't ask who Thomas Waverly was. Daniel is good at reading a room. Okay. Thomas Waverly was my real estate attorney. He picked up on the second ring. I told him about the pie, about the smile, about the house belongs to the family. He was quiet for a moment. Then, Nora, whatever they're planning, let's make sure it can't work. That's exactly what I want to do. Come in Thursday. We'll start building the wall. I came in Thursday. We built the wall. And then I waited. Before I keep going, have you ever had a moment where someone said something that sounded polite, but you knew exactly what they actually meant? Drop a 1 if you've had that moment, where you knew something was coming before it arrived. Drop a 2 if you've been caught off guard by someone you trusted. Because the moment Patricia said that to me in my kitchen, I stopped being surprised by people and started being prepared for them. 3 years into our marriage, Gerald's company had a difficult year. 2 major contracts fell through in March, a lawsuit from a subcontractor that cost them more than they expected. Daniel came home on a Tuesday evening and sat at the kitchen table without taking off his coat. That's how I know something is serious. He never sits with his coat on. They want to meet. About the house. He looked up. How did you... I've been waiting for this for 3 years, Daniel. He was quiet. They want to add their name to the deed. Use it as collateral. I nodded. And if the loan isn't repaid? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Daniel, look at me. He looked at me. This house is in a trust, has been for 2 years. Your parents can drive here with every lawyer in Columbus, and it won't matter. He stared at me. When did you... The Thursday after your mother told me the house belongs to the family. Over pie. He sat back, looked at the ceiling, laughed quietly. Of course you did. I love you. I know you do. Do you want me to call them? Tell them not to come? I thought about it. No. Let them come. Nora. I want them to sit at my table with their lawyer and their paperwork and their folder. And I want them to understand very clearly that this house was never available to begin with. Daniel looked at me for a long moment. Okay. 3 weeks later, they came. 8:14 in the morning, Tuesday. I was making oatmeal. $2.89 from the grocery store, the kind in the cardboard cylinder. I heard the car in the driveway, then another car. I stirred my oatmeal, watched through the kitchen window. Gerald, Patricia, and a man I had never seen in a gray suit carrying a manila folder. I thought about my mom's $8,000 check, about my dad in the front seat of a school bus for 22 years, about 4 years of peanut butter sandwiches and saving every dollar. I turned off the stove and opened the door. Morning, Nora. Sorry for the early hour. This is Steven Briggs. He's our attorney. I looked at Steven Briggs. Steven Briggs looked at his folder. Come in. I put my oatmeal in the microwave, set it for 90 seconds, sat across from them at my kitchen table, the table my parents gave us as a wedding gift, solid oak, 40 years old. Steven Briggs opened his folder, slid a document across. Ms. Callahan, I kept my name. A beat. Ms. Callahan, this is a quitclaim deed. It would transfer partial ownership of this property to Gerald and Patricia Harmon. And if the loan they're using it for isn't repaid? Steven shifted almost imperceptibly. In a worst-case scenario, Their ownership stake would remain. I looked at Gerald, the expression of a man who had never once considered that this might not work. I looked at Patricia. She was looking at her hands, not at me. She knew. On some level, she had always known who she was dealing with. The microwave beeped. I got up, got my oatmeal, came back, took a bite. I'll need a pen. And the room changed temperature. Gerald straightened. Patricia looked up. Steven reached into his jacket. Actually, I set down my spoon. Before I sign anything, I'd like you to look at something first. I went to my office, second drawer, the folder I had prepared 22 days earlier. I set it on the table, opened it. This is the current deed to this property. You'll notice the name on it, Nora Elizabeth Callahan. What you may not know is that 2 years ago, I placed this property into an irrevocable trust, in my name only. An irrevocable trust means this property cannot be transferred, signed away, used as collateral, or touched in any way without my explicit consent and the consent of my trustee. I looked at Steven Briggs directly. I'm assuming you're familiar with how irrevocable trusts work. Steven Briggs closed his folder. I am. Then you understand that the document you've brought today has no path forward. He nodded once. I understand. Patricia made a sound. Not a word, just a sound. The sound of something she had been counting on for 3 years, quietly leaving the room. The pen won't be necessary. I took another bite of my oatmeal. It had gone slightly cold. Still fine. Steven Briggs left first. He shook my hand at the door. Professional, quiet. The handshake of a man who respects a well-built wall, even when he was hired to knock it down. Gerald stood slowly. Nora, we weren't trying to... Gerald? He stopped. I know you're in a difficult position. I'm genuinely sorry about the company, but this house is not the answer to that problem. He looked at Patricia. She was already at the door, coat on, not looking at me. They left without saying goodbye. I stood in my kitchen, listened to 2 cars back out of my driveway. Then I sat down at my oak table and finished my oatmeal. Daniel called 18 minutes later. They called me. I figured they would. Are you okay? I made oatmeal. He laughed. That specific laugh, the one that sounds like relief and love at the same time. I'm sorry, Nora. I'm so sorry they did that. You didn't do it. I know, but Daniel, you told them. You warned them. They didn't listen. That's not yours to carry. A pause. How are you really? I looked around my kitchen, my table, my window, my house. I'm good. I'm really good. Can I come home early? Go to work. I'll see you tonight. Oh, and Daniel? Yeah. Tell your parents the oatmeal was excellent. He laughed so hard he had to hang up. I called Thomas next. It went exactly as we planned. I never doubted it for a second. Thank you, Thomas, for all of it. That's what I'm here for. Your name, your house. I smiled. My name, my house. I want to pause because I need to know. Patricia never apologized directly. 3 weeks later, Gerald sent a card. 4 sentences. We hope things are well. Family is important to us. We are sorry for any misunderstanding. Any misunderstanding? They came with a lawyer and called it a misunderstanding.
What would you do with that card? Drop a 1 if you'd respond and try to move forward. Drop a 2 if you'd put it in a drawer and say nothing. Because what I did is something Daniel still talks about. I wrote back. 1 sentence, handwritten, plain white paper. I hope the business finds its footing. Nora. That was it. No mention of the lawyer, no mention of the deed, no mention of Steven Briggs or the quitclaim or the oatmeal I was eating when they tried to take my house. Daniel read it before I sealed it, looked at me for a long moment. That's it? That's it? Why? I thought about it. Because I'm not angry. I'm just clear. And clear doesn't need a lot of words. He sealed the envelope, kissed my forehead. My parents have no idea who they were dealing with. Most people don't. Christmas came. Gerald and Patricia came to dinner. It was careful, polite. Patricia brought a green bean casserole. We ate it. We talked about Daniel's sister's kids. We did not talk about quitclaim deeds. Things are not what they were, but they are something. And something built on honesty is more than most people get. The house on Birchwood Lane still has my name on the deed. Trust intact. Same as the day I signed it. Here is the real lesson. Not the legal one, the human one. Patricia told me at Thanksgiving, 3 years before that Tuesday morning, the house belongs to the family. She said it over pie, like it was already decided. And here is what I want you to hear. She was not wrong to want security for her family. She was wrong about whose security got to matter. And I spent 3 years making sure that when the moment came, the answer was already written down, notarized, filed, irrevocable. If there is something in your life right now, a house, a business, a relationship, an inheritance, anything, that someone else is quietly building a claim to, don't wait for them to arrive at your door. Build the wall first, quietly, legally, completely. Because the most powerful thing you can do when someone slides paperwork across your table is slide better paperwork back. And then finish your oatmeal. If this story sat with you today, you already know what to do. Next story is about a woman whose sister grabbed the microphone at her wedding reception in front of 200 guests and announced her own engagement. What the sister didn't know was that the bride owned the venue. Every table, every chair, every microphone. She walked to the sound booth, made one hand signal. Mid-sentence, the microphone went dead. In front of everyone. I'll see you there.